Welcome to Botanical Trails Through the Juniper Forest. I'm your host, Brian Heater. Each week, I'll have a different guest join me to explore a pair of interesting gins. We'll chat a little bit about the gin and the distilleries, throw in a bit of trivia, hopefully laugh a bit, and then we'll go off the beaten path. Although I say that this is a podcast about gin, really this is just an excuse for me to spend time with my friends. But that'll just be our secret. Okay, let's start exploring. Welcome to episode 11. My guest today is Angie Wachowski. Angie, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Great. Or as I like to say, my former boss and forever friend.
Yeah.
And I got to report to you twice.
Yes.
So, and actually, you have a little part of every episode. You were the benefactor of the official cocktail glasses that I use, that you got me at for my sabbatical. So yes. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So, I was admiring these.
Yes, yeah. I love them. They're great. So I thought it would be sort of interesting to do a couple of rose-infused gins for today's episode.
Excellent.
So just about a year ago, I did a trip out to Washington, D.C. With my wife, Jen, and we went to this bar that was like right across from our hotel, and they had a local gin out there, and they had the rose-infused version of it, and I gave it a try, and I liked it. Ends up you can't get it here, and then I'll talk about how I did. But then I ended up trying this other Irish one that we will try in segment 2. So these will be the gins that we try today. It's a gin and tonic, and it is just the gin we're trying. The first one is Filibuster, their rose gin. It's a distillery out of Virginia, and then it's just with the Fever Tree Light Premium and a little bit of lime. So give that a try. Cheers.
I love the name Filibuster from DC.
And it's a great little story.
Yeah.
So, real quick about the gin and the distillery. So, this gin, Filibuster Gin Rose, it was originally introduced in the summer of 2018, and it was just a limited edition. Like, they were just going to kind of like put it out. Their customers loved it, and due to just the high demand of customer requests, it just became part of their full-time lineup. So It is now part of their full-time lineup. The botanicals, it doesn't say, I couldn't find out exactly how many were in it, but they include pink peppercorn, lemon, and wild rose. So, and I think the peppercorn is what gives it a little bit of that very light, like pink color. So, they said it's best served in a gin and tonic, although they didn't specify tonic or garnishing it with anything, so I just did lime. It has won an award before. The distillery is called Filibuster Distillery. So it opened in 2013, so this would be their 10-year anniversary. And it's sort of one of those like American Dream type stories. So Sid Dilawri moved to the U.S. in 2008. Looking for a career in IT. If I remember correctly from what I read, he moved here from India. While he was looking for an opportunity in IT, he started working at his father's liquor store. There he developed a passion for whiskey. And a couple of years down the road, that led him to start this distillery. The reason that they chose Filibuster Distillery is not only their close proximity to Washington, D.C., but also that they are not afraid to speak up, and their innovative approach reflects their homage their homage to freedom of expression. They're located in Morristown, Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley. So, which would be, if you're a Civil War buff, there's plenty of stuff to see in the Shenandoah Valley, and you could check this place out. There are 3 different gins that they do. This rose, they do a dual cask gin, and then it looks like they have recently come out with a cardamom gin.
Ooh.
And then they started off doing bourbon and whiskey, and I think that's sort of what they're maybe known a little bit more for. But, so funny story, I tried this gin last June when we were on vacation, and I really liked it. And I came back to town, and I saw the dual cask at like Total Wine or at Rishi's, and I'm like, hey, can you order the rose one for me? And I put it in order at like 2 or 3 places, and they're like, I don't know, we can't seem to get it. And so then recently I found out about, as your husband would know, since he's in the like alcohol distribution business, they have like the state liquor list. Like it's what the places can.
Yeah, who can sell what, where, and who distributes it.
Yep, and what you can get. The only filibuster gin on this list I looked it up is the dual cask. That's all you can get here. About a month ago, I ended up at another establishment in town that I won't mention, and I looked up and I saw that they had the gin rose. And I'll show you later. There's like a little sticker on the bottle, and it says like made for, and it's a name of something, and it's not this place, and I'm pretty sure they're not really supposed to be selling it.
So it's bootleg.
I think it is sort of bootleg, but it is a fun, tasty little gin, I think.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little nervous on the rose infused, right? Was it going to be too sweet, too perfumey? Not at all.
Yeah, it's not really... in the second segment, we'll see, because I haven't tried it straight, so we'll see if it's like super floral, but I doubt it is, because if it was really botanical or floral, this tonic would not hide that. Like we would taste that, and it's not. It's a pretty smooth, kind of nice little flavorful gin. So
I'm enjoying it. It's very good.
Yeah. So, but luckily, thanks to that, I did try to find it when I was out there, and I went to what I thought was a liquor store that was like in the neighborhood of my hotel, and that wasn't it at all. So I just didn't get a chance to snag it when I was out there, But now that I think about it, I should probably go back to that store and buy another bottle before it's just not there anymore.
You better stockpile. Well, I'm going to D.C. for a lacrosse tournament, but we're flying, so I don't think I can fly one back for you. You can if it's checked luggage. I will check.
I have to check. We have to
check a lacrosse stick.
If you're only doing carry-on, you can only do like the little airport bottles. And the reason I discovered this is a future guest of mine went to England recently. He and his son went for their spring break. To go catch some English Premier League soccer, and he sends me a picture. He's like, hey, here's what I got for you. And then he goes on to explain that the reason they're all airplane bottle sizes is when he was talking to the guy at the store, he said, oh, we're not checking any baggage. And the guy was like, you can't take bottles back. You have to get like... So I don't know exactly what it is, because I couldn't tell from the miniature bottles that he brought back. But hopefully it's going to be a couple
enough for a drink.
Right? Yes, hopefully, yeah. And then
enough for a cocktail.
One of my sister's former roommates lives in England, so we'll see if she can then, if we find one we really like, have her.
Yeah. We have good friends who are there on vacation right now, but so I don't know if they flew carry-on only or not. But we have to check lacrosse. You can't carry on a lacrosse stick, so I'm going to have to check a bag.
So is this a tournament that you're going to?
Yeah. My youngest daughter plays lacrosse, and she plays on a travel team, and we fly places.
Oh, this is for the travel team?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to a big tournament Father's Day weekend. Just me and her team. So.
Oh, well, that'll be fun.
And other parents, but.
Is she play like a set position on the team?
She plays defense.
Okay.
Yeah. She's pretty.
She liking it?
She loves it. She won Warrior of the Game last Monday. Because on defense, scoring on defense in lacrosse is kind of like a defender in soccer scoring. Doesn't happen very often, right?
Okay.
And she got the ball, ran the whole field, and scored.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it was a good game.
Was this for her travel team, or is she
No,
playing?
this is for her high school team. So, yeah.
Is she in varsity?
JV,
okay.
Yeah, but she loves it. It's her sport. She'd rather do that than anything.
And this is her freshman year?
Freshman year, yes.
JV, so, nice. Yeah. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. So... maybe I'll look for the distillery when I'm, between games when we're in.
Oh, yeah.
What did you say? It's in Virginia.
Yeah, Maurtown, Virginia. I think we're in the Shenandoah Valley.
Silver Springs, so.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. It's a good day for a gin and tonic since it's 85 degrees.
I know. I think it's like the warmest day of the year so far. Yeah. So, yeah. I mowed the yard. We cleaned the house. We did everything in preparation for you coming over. It was actually a great excuse to get stuff done around here.
Like, come on, we got a podcast.
And then I drove all over town trying to find Playmobile action figures for my niece's birthday party for tomorrow.
Yeah.
they used to be everywhere.
Yeah.
And
But at like the good educational toy stores, not at the big boxes.
Well, here's the problem. I love the place, but Schuler Books used to carry it.
Yeah.
They still have a little sign over their toy section that says Playmobile. And I was there like last week picking something up, and I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to pick up Sutton's Gift. And I'm like wandering around, and it's not a big toy section.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is weird. And I go over and I'm like, do you still carry Playmobil? And they're like, oh, no, we don't have that anymore. And I wanted to be like, maybe take the sign down. Like, that's not helpful.
You're like, false advertising. You're deceiving me. My kids had Playmobil, and the funny thing was, we had a Playmobil house that they kept in the camper, and a Playmobil camper that they kept in the house.
That makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So they'd go camping and play Playmobil house. Their other favorite thing about Playmobil, this is just our sixth sense of humor, is, Playmobil, you can make the characters hold things.
Yeah.
And in the Playmobil camper, it had a full set of dishes and like little camping stuff. And so Mary Kate used to think it was hilarious to put the knife in the little Playmobil baby's hand and make everybody run around screaming, the baby's got a knife! The baby's got a knife! The baby's got a knife!
I used to stay at my aunt's every weekend growing up, and I think the kid across the street is the one who had them. Maybe we had a couple of them, but they were like cowboys.
Yeah.
And so, but he had quite a few of them, and so we like split them up into two groups, and basically like one group we called the bandits, and the other one were just like the normal cowboy folk, I guess, whatever. But we like structured the couch then so it looked like a canyon, and they were like going through the middle, and then we put the bandits up on either side. And I remember it was just
you were
this
like
massive
reenacting
shootout.
a Western.
It was super fun. Yeah, it was totally like
now our kids just play video games.
Yeah, they miss out on so much.
I know. Except Mary Kate did say, I had to move her back from Auburn this past weekend, and we were packing, and we have to pack this storage unit that she's sharing with 4 other friends. And we're packing all these boxes, and I was like, no, give me that. We're going to do it another way. She's like, I think you can pack so well because of Tetris. All those years you played Tetris as a kid.
Have you seen the new Tetris movie on Netflix?
Yes. It was great.
So interesting.
Yeah. I had no idea that was the story.
No, that it was created in Russia.
Yeah.
By a Russian, and they were trying to, like, put it everywhere, and I had no idea that they popped it onto all those, what was it? Nintendo Game Boys?
Game Boys.
Yeah.
It was the game on the Game Boy.
Yeah.
I don't remember playing it on Game Boy. I remember playing it on my Nintendo, like the one, what do you call it? Like the gaming system we had. The NS, maybe?
Well, originally it was just called Nintendo, I thought.
Yeah, maybe the first Nintendo, whatever the original one was. Yeah. So, yeah. But, like, we would be packing, and I would be like, oh, try this there. And Mary Kate's like, Tetris, you can pack so well because of Tetris. It's like, sure, spatial relations.
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So real quick, your oldest daughter goes to Auburn.
Yes, War Eagle.
Yeah. So, obviously, I'm not super happy right now
about
because
that quarterback
transfer, like the late transfer portal, you now have Michigan State's starting quarterback.
Yeah, what's his name? Peyton Thorne. Yes.
Patrick.
No, it's Peyton Thorne. It's Peyton Thorne.
Yes.
Because he's old enough to probably have been named after Peyton Manning.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And he's from Illinois. Yeah, he was originally from Illinois. He's at Michigan State. Yeah, that news broke when I was down there.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a shock. The State had just had their spring game, and everyone thought he was going to be the starter coming out of it.
The question is he an SEC quarterback? That's what Mary Kate said. Whatever that means. But you got to think, who was the guy from Georgia? Stetson Bennett. What did he go in the draft? Like,
did he get drafted?
Technically, I don't know if he got drafted or he just got signed post-draft.
Well, he made, because I know there are some questions about his size.
Yeah.
The Lions took an SEC quarterback. They took Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then a SEC quarterback went number 1. A Big Ten quarterback went number 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're definitely producing a lot. Actually, the Big Ten, I think, had the most... either the most first-round picks or the most overall draft picks like they've ever had in the history of the conference or something. Yeah. So,
the transfer portal. Because Auburn lost TJ Finley like the day before or 2 days before the Peyton Thorne thing came up.
Where'd he go?
He entered the transfer portal as a graduate transfer because he graduated, and rumor has it he's going to Ohio State.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess they would have an opening.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know. That transfer portal is so different. Like, I think it's good that the kids have choices and stuff like that. I think it's hard for fans because they're not used to it.
Yeah.
And it used to be you got a kid and pretty much
You
would have them the whole
invested in
time.
them and you kept them for the long
But
haul,
coaches
right?
come and go all the time, and
Right.
the kids would be tied to it, and so I don't think so I'm okay with it. Like, they should have as much of a choice as anybody else.
Right.
But as a fan, you're just kind of like, ugh,
I know.
it don't hurt you. But
So it stings. Except we were really glad to see Bo Nix go. Her freshman year, right? We were like,
right,
just
but
go.
then he ended up having a really good season then that following year.
Yeah.
He played really well.
Yeah,
So he had
did.
a good year.
Yeah.
So it worked out well for him.
But it all works out. So.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Would you like to do the first round of gin trivia? We had decided that you'll ask me
Yes.
first. So let me...
Gin trivia.
Yep. So...
All right.
Go ahead.
Do you think Renee plays along when she bakes and listens to your podcast?
I don't know. Maybe. But she said she likes to turn it on and bake. So we'll have to find out what little treats she made when she's listening to episode 11.
Renee, when you listen to this, please deliver whatever you're baking to me and Brian. And if you haven't sent that invite for lunch yet, put it on the calendar. All right. Hey, she's going to be really glad we don't start talking about how she should set a date.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe after the second drink.
After the second drink. That'll be the... And Renee, you know exactly what we mean. All right. World Gin Day is celebrated in which summer month?
World Gin Day. There was just like Gin and Tonic Day, so that's not it. It's a summer month, so I've got one of three options. I am...
4, technically.
4.
If you think about when the solstice is.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I guess in my head, I always just think like
June, July, August. Yeah.
Like what I used to have off as a kid for school. I don't know. I'm just going to guess July.
Incorrect. June.
Damn.
World Gin Day is the second Saturday in June, to be precise. But do you just feel like that? Is that like a real holiday, or is it like a made-up holiday?
No, literally, they're just like Gin and Tonic Day. I think they just are making stuff.
They make stuff up.
But I think this has been around for a little while. I think Gin National, or was it World Gin Day?
World Gin Day, not National Gin and Tonic Day.
Yeah,
right. So
it's June. It's always the second Saturday of June.
Do you know that there's there's an official Working Parents Day or something like that?
Isn't that every day?
I know. No, there's actually a Working Parents holiday, and I always miss it. And my joke is, well, we were too busy to freaking celebrate it, right? Like, yeah. So there we go. All right, World Gin Day.
This is kind of.
I thought I was gonna.
The first one I've missed.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's a.
I was trying to throw you off by adding September in there when I was like, there's technically 4 months.
Well,
because
that
of
is
solstice,
true. Yeah,
but-
no, you're right. It would stretch over those 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you think of summer vacations, June, July. They don't get June, July, and August stuff anymore. They get like 2 weeks of June, all of July, and go back to school like in the middle of August.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Don't even get me started on the agrarian U.S. education system.
All right. Well, we will take a quick break while I go fix our second drink.
Excellent.
All right. We are back. And as we have been doing, we are going to sample our 2 gins. We are going to start off with the filibuster.
All right.
So,
cheers.
Give that a little taste.
I'm giving it a little sniff.
Or shoot it.
I'm not going to shoot
Just
gin.
kidding. It's not super
As I cough?
florally.
No. What's the alcohol content? It's got a little burn on the way down.
I'll have to check. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
See, it didn't burn. There was a slight burn, but not like super bad.
No, but like just
But
as this,
it's
it's got a little, it's got a little burn.
I'll let you know it's there.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
I could almost just drink that straight. Like on the rocks.
Yeah, on the rocks. Maybe with a little lime juice on the
Yeah.
rim of the glass.
So, our second gin that we'll taste first, and then we'll do the drink, but is from Ireland. It is Glendalough Rose Gin. I got introduced to this from my friends at Rishi's when I couldn't find filibuster, because obviously you're not supposed to be able to buy it here. But they were like, hey, this is a really good rose-infused gin. I have definitely enjoyed it, and so I am happy to bring this one to the table. So we'll give this one a little taste, and then I'll talk about the gin and the distillery.
All right.
So this one is definitely...
It's pink.
Yeah, definitely has a pink color.
It's pretty.
In fact, this will show up sometimes on, if you search for like pink gins, this will show up as an option.
A little more botanical in this one, I would say.
Yes. But I got no burn on that one.
No.
Now, I do know that they use like 3 different roses in this one.
Oh.
So, and it's kind of a sweet, interesting story that I'll tell about how this gin came along. And then what I did for our beverage is I actually followed what they recommended.
All right.
The best way to serve it, which is a gin and tonic with some lime and then a fresh slapped sprig of mint. So I just beat the crap out of this mint when I was in the kitchen. Yep, I just gave it a good spanking and said, all right, get in there. So, all
right.
So give this a try.
Cheers.
I've actually not had this way, so let's see.
I like it.
Yeah, it is good.
It's got a lot more going on than the first one did.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, although neither one really stated how many were in it, in terms of botanicals, I just know, like, from a rose perspective, this one has more, so that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. So, this is Glendalough Rose Gin. It was created in 2014 in honor of the head distiller's mom. There's a really sweet...
Is her name Rose?
Yes. It is a very sweet video that they show that the guy talking about it. So his mom, whose name was Rose, and if I remember correctly, the way he described it was she was the 11th of 12 children, and they were just starting to run out of names. So they called her Rose. She had passed away. And then his younger brother was getting married. And it sounded like they had not done a gin yet at this distillery. So he made this gin to honor his mom for his younger brother's wedding. And they used the flowers from her rose garden.
Oh, very cool.
They made this, yes. It is now made with 3 types of Irish rose that are found in the hills around that area. There's a wild rose, a heritage rose, and a damask rose. Actually, to make their gins, they forage wild plants from the mountains around the distillery, and they actually utilize a professional forager. Like, she'll go out and, like, pick this stuff and, like, bring it back. As I mentioned, they said the best way to serve this is in a gin and tonic with lime and a fresh slapped sprig of mint. The Glendalough Distillery, it was established in 2011 by 5 friends who came from Wicklow and Dublin. This distillery is in Wicklow, Ireland. Glendalough, or Glen of Two Lakes, is one of the most visited valleys in Ireland. And the Wicklow Mountains are known as the Garden of Ireland. Wow. The area is also known for its renowned 6th century monastic settlement founded by St. Kevin, who's actually the gentleman who's on their bottles. When you see him like standing in the water with 2 arms raised, there's a whole thing about that. Like, he would go out into the water and pray, and the birds got so used to seeing him that they would land on him, and then a bird came and laid its eggs in his hand, and he stayed there until it could hatch. It's kind of a crazy story.
That is kind of a crazy story.
Yeah. They make 11 different gins.
Whoa.
They have 4 seasonal gins. And then they have this line called their Ginteresting series, which I find is hilarious. So
Ginteresting?
Ginteresting.
I like that.
And there's 4 in that one. They also distill whiskey, and then something I have never heard about called Poitin. It's Poitin. It is the original Irish spirit. It was called the Water of Life, and it was outlawed in 1661. But they brought it back. But this was the rose gin that I got introduced to when I couldn't find Filibuster, which is our last gin, and I think it's just been a fun little discovery.
I like the pink. I think it's fun.
Yeah, it's definitely it's the filibuster, if you look at it, has a very, very like light pink hue to it. This one is definitely just pink,
it's just
right
pink.
off the bat.
Hold on, I'm going to do a little test with the filibuster because I still have some of my
all right.
shot left, or my taster left. Oh, you can see like a light.
Yeah, it's a very light.
This is a podcast, so nobody can tell that I'm holding it up against a piece of white.
That's true. But actually, in the picture that'll be on the Instagram account, you can kind of see the two different. And I think it gets that slight pink hue from the peppercorn that's in it, and then probably the rose as well. But
yeah.
But I know
when you were telling the story about that distillery, I thought of something and then I completely lost it.
Which one?
The story about the rose gin and the running out of names, and it's Mother's Day, and you had Sunday. I know, when you have this rose with the great mother story, and people always give roses on Mother's Day. That's what I was going to tell you. When I was a kid, we would always go and buy my mom a rose bush, like to plant in her garden. That was a
like typical, every year.
Yeah, that was like a typical Mother's Day present for us.
That's pretty cool.
You know, do you remember when, like, back in the old days, you would buy them, they'd be, like, in the plastic bag, and they would just be, like, the sprigs sticking out. Like, it wouldn't look... And we'd have to judge what it was going to be by the... we'd have to trust that the picture on the packaging was the rose we were getting, right? Because it wasn't in bloom yet.
Were you ever surprised?
I don't know. I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
So I was probably, like... This all probably happened from the time I was, like, 5 to 8 or 9, but no... But I was thinking that, so...
That's fun. I actually don't know if I'll see my mom. The COVID, like, completely, like, whacked out our schedules.
Yeah.
And in my head, I can't get straight, like, wait, am I supposed to be in Kalamazoo to see my mom? Or is this the year we're, like, hanging out up here with like,
Jen's
mom? And then maybe, like, Jen's sister and sister-in-law, who are, they're all moms. But, but we could, I mean, it's not far away. We could try to squeeze everybody in as well. So, I don't know. We'll just have to kind of see. So.
Yeah.
Do you have any big plans for your Mother's Day?
I think I went to this really cool place today in Rockford called the New Growth Project. You can find them on Instagram.
What is it?
It's a farm that specializes, they do a lot of produce, right? Local grown produce that they supply to people. They have a little farm store. They've some plants and flowers, but their kind of mission is to employ neurodiverse people.
Okay.
Right? So, and I got hooked up with them. A friend of mine, through my daughter's, from her high school, posted a thing about this New Growth Project is having a perennial sale. And so I went up there and picked up all these perennials that I'm going to put in my yard, like coral bells and butterfly bushes and astilbe and all this cool stuff. So I'm kind of hoping the weather will be nice and I'll just make my girls plant a bunch of stuff for me for Mother's Day.
Nice through the afternoon, then I think we get some rain Friday night into Saturday, but then Sunday, and it'll be a little cooler, so that'd be a perfect day for planting.
Yeah, I might make them plant.
And if it rains, the ground will be softer, it'll be easier for them.
Yes.
So this place, do they grow their own stuff, or do you like?
No, they grow their own.
They grow their own.
And you know, I love bees, right? You know, I'm a freak about the bees and saving the bees, and I have bee houses. And if I didn't live in the city, I'd probably be a beekeeper, but it's not allowed in the city of Grand Rapids. But this place has their own bees, and like you can buy their honey. Their farm stores, they open on the 13th. I was there to just pick up my flowers because I'd ordered them online, but it was pretty sweet.
We had a guy in HRIS, who was he was a beekeeper on the side. Oh my God, this is gonna I'm so bad with names. That's why I worked in human resources. This is going to kill me. He took VSP like me. He joined us from IT, like after Op Model.
I can't remember.
Keith?
Oh, yeah. He was a beekeeper?
Yes. He was like a hobby of his. So.
Yeah. And
then also, like carpentry was. And then I don't know if he's still doing it, but he was starting a carpentry business then.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Like my kids call the bees my people. Right? Because, like, when there's somebody freaking out about a bee and they're going to kill a bee, I'll be like, just give it to me. Give it to me. And I can, like, I've had bees land on me.
They find you very sweet?
I don't know. I think it's because I'm not afraid of them, right? Like...
Yeah, that's true.
In the universe, I have, like, a big respect for bees. No bees, no life. We need the botanicals to make good booze.
Yes, for sure.
Good gin.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
they're a social insect, much like my favorite, ants.
Did you have an ant farm when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I love ants.
Mary Kate had an ant farm.
Yeah, they're great. I did like my 6th grade project on them. Yeah, really? They're amazing. So
and it was so impactful. You can still talk to me about ants to this day.
Oh, I still buy books about them.
Really?
Oh, yeah, they're fascinating. Completely fascinating. I could do almost a separate podcast that absolutely no one would listen to on ants.
Well, I think we should find you what's the person who specializes in insects?
Entomologist.
I was going to say an entomologist.
Yeah.
Entomologist, yeah. Do special botanical trails on insects.
On ants, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
How do you feel about wasps?
Well, I don't. I mean, they're not like bees. I like the bees.
I know. Actually, they think ants may have descended from wasps. Is
really?
the thought. Yep.
Hence why Ant-Man and the Wasp get along so well in the Marvel universe.
Good point. Although ants are much more social than wasps tend to be. So, but, yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize you enjoyed bees that much. I would have really chatted you up about this more.
About the bees?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh, I have bee houses in my backyard.
What's your favorite kind of bee?
Oh, the one what's the one that lives in my backyard? It's a, Brian, you should have asked me.
Bumblebee?
There's this cute little bee that lives in my backyard that they're like really good pollinators. They don't sting.
What?
They don't sting.
Do they not even have a sting?
I don't think they have a sting. Oh, damn it. Oh, now you're going to have to put an explicit on here. Oh, no. I'm kidding.
Not for that.
I'm kidding.
Fine.
I'm kidding.
Maybe the spanking bit, but not that.
Yeah. For the what?
The spanking, nothing.
The spanking your man.
Here's a little interesting bee story that I find. Okay, you know those... they're from Japan. They're huge. They're like these hornets. Like the
what do they call them? Yeah. Death hornets? Killer hornet? No.
Yeah. Those things, right? So they will...
Murder hornets!
Yeah, murder hornets. So they will... they'll like attack beehives. So, and... I mean, they're huge compared to bees. They have a tougher like exoskeleton, so they can't really like sting them or bite them to defend against. So through evolution, I don't know how they figured it out, but the Japanese bees can withstand a higher temperature than the killer hornets. So when the hornets get into the nest, the bees will surround it and get like super active to increase the temperature.
So they essentially just cook it?
And they get it so hot that the wasp can't survive, but they can tolerate that higher heat. And that's how they defend the hive. They like basically, cook them by
that's
just like...
That's a good fun fact.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's my fun, interesting fact about how they...
Your fun bee story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because those things are huge.
Yeah.
Those murder hornets or whatever.
I know. We get a couple of big bees in our yard every year. And the girls always be like, "It's a murder hornet!" The coolest insect thing we ever had, though, I'm pretty sure it was like a wasp or a hornet. It looked, it was yellow and black, though, so everybody assumes it's a bee, but not necessarily.
Oh, no. Hornets are yellow and black.
Yeah, and there was like this thing flying around, and we're like, what the heck is that? And it was like... a bee and a cicada, like, in a fight.
Oh, wow.
Like a giant... And then it was back during the time when my kids had to do, bug collections and things like that, which they really don't make kids do anymore.
What?
I don't know. They don't... I think, because there's going to be somebody who complains about, like, killing the bug or... I don't know. Anyhow. But this whole thing was going, and, like, we batted it out of the air, and then we grabbed them and put them in one of our... lightning bug boxes and kept it, and they were stuck together. Like the bee had stung the cicada, and they were like, so then we put it in the freezer, and we were like, well, yeah, because we're saving it in case one of the kids ever needed it for a project.
Do you still have it?
No, we had a bunch of really cool insects that we kept in the freezer for the longest time. We had I kid you not, a shoebox full of cool bugs in case they ever they needed them, for
Do you ever think of like encasing them in amber? Like the Okay.
No, but we finally got rid of them because for the longest time we were like saving the cool bugs in case they had to do a really good project.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we did. We did that.
As a kid, I never studied them or researched them, but I always found praying mantises to be fairly interesting.
Yes.
But I think it's because my dad thought they were kind of cool, so I liked them. And
driving home in northern Alabama on Saturday, Mary Kate and I come up across this trailer that has, I kid you not, an 8 foot like praying mantis on it. It's like a piece of art. I have pictures. I'll send it to you.
But it's a picture. It wasn't like a giant praying mantis.
No, it was 3D praying mantis, bright green on the trailer of a truck. And Mary Kate was like, she was driving. She's like, what is in front of us? I'm like, I don't know. What is that? It looks like a bug. She's like, it's a praying mantis. So we took pictures and we passed it.
We ended up having a praying mantis like on the deck up at Torch Lake last summer. Yeah. And with these new fancy iPhones, like one of my sisters took a picture, but the pictures are incredible with these new lenses and stuff. Yeah. It looked like something out of like National Geographic.
I always like the walking stick bug.
Oh, see, I was like, I don't know.
The praying mantis. Well, the praying mantis like mates and then bites her partner's or
the lady does.
The lady does.
Makes it really risky.
Yeah, bites his head off at the end. Like
she better been worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Walk. I mean, they just look like a stick, so something doesn't eat them.
I know, but it's kind of cool when they walk. They like lumber along. Yeah.
It is interesting all those ways that they come up to protect themselves, though. Mm-hmm. Pretty fascinating.
It is pretty fascinating. My other favorite thing is lightning bugs. Like, my yard gets a ton of lightning bugs, because I have all these hostas in it.
Okay.
And I've never fact-checked this, but it seems very true based on my experiences that lightning bugs like to feed off of slug larvae.
Oh, maybe.
Baby slugs. So I think that's because I have hostas everywhere. That's why I get so many lightning bugs. And I've, been battling the slugs for years. I've tried everything, but I've just given myself up to the fact that my hostas are going to look like Swiss cheese by September.
For the past couple of years, we will go over to Steve Rotary's house in the summer. We'll have like a little cookout, and then in his backyard, the kids and I will go, and Steve and Jen just kind of watches, but we'll like catch lightning bugs. And typically it's like 8 to 12 or something like that. Like 2 years ago, we caught like 34 in a night. It was insane.
Yeah.
We let them go too, by the way. But we caught like 34 in a matter of hour and a half or something like insane. Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah. I used to be the champion of lightning bugs, but now that, I'm getting older and my eyes suck, my night vision's not as good, so I can't, I used to be able to, snatch them out of the air.
You will probably not appreciate this story, but when I was a child...
Would you squish them?
Nope. But I would hit them with a wiffle ball bat. And if you hit it hard enough, your bat would be coated with the...
lightning bug?
Goo, and the bat would sort of glow. I didn't do it often, but... we were in the country and we didn't have streetlights, so we just had to come up with things to do. And
or cell phones.
That was one of them.
There was no TikTok, no Instagram, no...
There was no cable. I'm not kidding. It was dirt roads, no streetlights, no cable TV.
3 channels.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
ABC, NBC, CBS, maybe PBS.
Maybe PBS, Fox, then when it came out when I was a little older. But also, if you...
When Fox was only on Sundays, do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. But if you could aim the antenna right, if you got lucky, you could pick up WGN to watch Bozo the Clown.
The original Bozo.
The original with Cookie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I was afraid of Bozo as a child.
A lot of kids just don't like clowns.
No. I don't have a problem with them now, really, but...
Oh, I know some adults who still
are freaked out by clowns.
Yeah, they just can't deal with them. So, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
All right.
Gin trivia?
Yep, your turn.
All right. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Oh, all right.
All right.
Which American comedian said, "I exercise strong self-control. I never drink anything stronger than gin before breakfast"? It's a multiple choice.
Oh, it is? Thank goodness.
Yes, because otherwise...
I'm like, do you know how many American comedians there are?
Well, and I did notice it was multiple choice. Yeah. So it's one of these 3. Rodney Dangerfield, W.C. Fields, or Bob Hope. And again, the quote is, which American comedian said, "I exercise strong self-control. I never drink anything stronger than gin before breakfast"?
go W.C. Fields.
Good job.
Yeah.
You got that one. Nice.
All right.
Yeah. Because
He had like the gin nose going.
And they just loved to drink back then. And they weren't.
I know.
And they were sort of almost happy and proud of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Nice work. So, time for Off the Beaten Path.
All right.
And we had discussed that I would go first.
Yes.
So I picked this one for two reasons. My selection. It's a book. It's actually a collection of short stories that I love, but also your degree is in literature, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
English language and literature.
Yes. So
I work in human resources.
So with that
Makes
in
perfect
mind,
sense.
I sort of went with this one. So my pick this episode is the short stories of F. Scott Fitzgerald, a new collection. And this is the collection that came out in 1989 by Charles Scribner's Sons. That's the publisher. So I probably got this in 1999 or like 2000. Okay. So I had read a couple of his books, leading up to this. I just sort of liked the way that he wrote, and I like stumbled upon this. I think I was at a Barnes and Noble, and I grabbed it. Actually, I know. I got it because we were going to be flying up to Alaska to visit my uncle who is stationed up in the Air Force in Anchorage, and it's a super cool place to visit if you ever get a chance. But, so I read it. But I've always liked short stories, or a collection of short stories, because you can you don't have to like read the whole thing. Right. You can kind of just pick and choose and stuff like that. So, and although, F. Scott Fitzgerald, I think, is known, more for his novels, especially like The Great Gatsby and things of that nature, he didn't really at the time make much money from his book publishing. Yeah. In fact, like The Great Gatsby and one of the other, like, they were basically considered failures at the time. Like they just didn't. So he really sort of kept a roof over his head back in the day by writing short stories. So like over the course of his career, he wrote like 160 short stories that got published. So this collection is a collection of 43 of them. And what they did is they decided to kind of just put them in chronological order. So you can sort of see how his
writing progressed.
And also how
stylistically,
and also how it went from like the Jazz Age to the Depression to then him like making money like as a screenwriter in Hollywood. So it kind of like progresses. But there is something about his style of writing that I really like enjoy. And I would like finish a story and I was like, wow, that was good. There's no way this one's going to be good. And then I would start the next one, and like a page and a half into it, he would just suck me back in. Like, I don't know what it is, but I just really enjoy his prose. Like, I don't know exactly what it is, but I love his short stories. I love this collection. It's great. Hunter S. Thompson he said to become a better writer, he once typed out all of The Great Gatsby. He said just to kind of see like the rhythm of how all that wording worked in there. And he typed the whole book out so he could kind of like understand how that flowed and everything. And I thought that was pretty crazy.
It's an interesting approach.
Yeah, but I really like short stories, but this one I just highly recommend. And even though, a lot of these stories were written, some of them at this point, like over 100 years ago, like they're still just so well done, and the characters are really rich, and actually he does a really, in my opinion, like a nice job of writing like female characters. Like they weren't just like flappers and stuff like that. Like
there was complexity to them.
Yeah, and they were kind of like go-getting, but like in a good way. Like that at the time, by most people and probably society at the time, just like wasn't recognized. Yeah. But I love his writing, and I really enjoy it. So that's my pick. It's the short stories of F. Scott Fitzgerald.
I just read I'm trying to remember where it was, but a thing about F. Scott Fitzgerald and The Great Gatsby, looking at it with the lens of if Gatsby was actually African American.
Oh, I just read that too.
Yeah. I can't remember where, but it was a whole study on going back through the book to say there were subtle clues, and that's why so many people had issue with him, and that's maybe why the book didn't do so well initially. At the time, it was. I can't remember where, but it was I haven't read The Great Gatsby since. I read that, but I was like, gosh, it makes me want to go and kind of read it again.
No, I know what you're talking about. Where did I see that? No, I know what you're talking about. That was a really interesting article.
Yeah, it was a great article.
Kind of a spin on it. So, yeah.
So, my favorite, one of my favorite books of all time is To Kill a Mockingbird. Right. So good. Right. And then they found this Harper Lee text, right, that they published a few years ago of Go Set a Watchman, right? Yep. And I was like, I'm not reading it. She never published it. She didn't want it to be read, right? I really stood my ground on it. Yep. Wasn't going to read it. And then I was like, it was during the pandemic, actually, and I was running out of things to read. I was like, all right, I'm going to read it. I read it, and I'm still pissed off to this day that I read that book. That you read it, you gave in, you're like, oh, this is... I gave it. I was like, it wasn't, it's like, I don't know, it was like looking behind the curtain of The Great and Powerful Oz, right? She didn't want us to know that side of Atticus Finch, everything that was happening in this book, right? It was supposed to, she wrote it probably as a social commentary, but she chose not to publish it. Yep. Yeah, I know. It's funny. There's a tree. If I head west on a walk in my neighborhood, when you go around the corner, there's this tree that has a big hole and stuff in it. It's a Boo Radley hole. Yes, and I'm just like, oh, I could put stuff in there like Boo Radley used to do. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a great. It totally reminds me of the tree from that book. Yes. Phil and I, when we were in Napa a few years ago, got to go to this really cool winery called McMurray Ranch, as in Fred McMurray from My Three Sons. His ranch. It's a winery. And we got to go up and do this private wine tasting at the top of a hill that overlooked the Russian River Valley. Oh. Super cool. But at the top of it, there is a big tree with a hole in it, like a Boo Radley tree. And I put my wine glass in that hole in the tree and took a picture. And the guide, taster, whatever you call him, who was there, was like, in all my years here, I've never seen anybody do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm an English major. When you see a hole in a tree, you got to put something in there for Jeb and Scout or myself. It's a glass of wine. Yeah. So, yeah. But it was pretty cool. And they did a nice job with that movie, too, with Gregory Peck playing Atticus Finch. He did such a good job in that. So, yeah. Yeah, it's probably only a matter of time before it's a banned book. I'm sure it's been banned before. Oh, I know it's been banned before, but hey. So, would you like to do your selection? Do you want me to first give my guess for what I thought it was, and then you inform me that I was completely wrong? Right. So you show up, and you have a T-shirt on, and it says, No Country for Old Men. And I'm like, that's amazing. I really like that movie. I can't wait for this to be a topic. You then inform me I just didn't pay attention to the shirt at all, and that's not your topic, correct? That's not my topic. My shirt says No Country for Old Men, but it's a... kind of an artist rendering of female reproductive organs. A uterus surrounded by roses. And some fallopian tubes and ovaries and all that jazz. But the rosaries is kind of good. Yeah, the roses were thematic to the gin. Nice. Yes, thematic to the... Yeah, so that's my topic. So that was pretty funny. I was like, wow, did I completely just not pay attention? Yeah. So. No, I bought this T-shirt a few weeks ago, and, with everything going on in America... have you read what's going on in Ohio right now? Luckily we live in Michigan. Which one? Well, I mean, they have plenty of problems down there, unfortunately. Well, they just put a ballot initiative on the August ballot to say that any future constitutional amendments need to pass by 60%. So they're essentially trying to... And it's just a primary when they don't expect a bunch of voters to show up. Right, but they're trying to change... their laws to block the vote that will most likely happen in November that puts abortion as a constitutional right in Ohio, much like we did in Michigan. Yes. So I was just, I go on a news diet every now and then, Brian, because, it's healthy. Because the world just makes me crazy. And this morning I stopped my news diet and was listening to NPR as I was getting ready for work, and they were interviewing the local reporter for the Ohio State Senate, which is, very conservative, majority, super majority Republican, and they were talking about this. And I'm just like, all of it, like, it's like, if people aren't pissed off about what's happening in democracy right now with what these state legislatures are trying to do, with the gerrymandering, things like that, if you're not angry, you're not paying attention. Especially if you're female, right? Because where does the slippery slope end? Now, there we go. We can go back to talking about books.
Well, no, you get to, it doesn't have to be a book, but your topic for...
Yeah.
Do you have one?
What?
You have one, right?
Yeah. Okay. That was it. That was kind of my topic. Pay attention.
Pay attention. Oh, that's a good one.
Pay attention. No. But books, what are you reading right now?
Actually, I won't even bring it. I don't want to slam anybody. I had asked for it, but I got a collection of short stories that I usually love for Christmas. I got it. It was terrible. I couldn't read it. It was awful. I tried, like, I fast forwarded to try to find, like, a good... anyhow, I bagged it.
You fast forwarded.
And I will tough stuff out, but I just was like, nothing is grasping me in this.
How old were you the first time you just said, screw it, and gave up on a book?
Oh, I probably did this more when I was a kid. Like, my Aunt Dee used to take me to the library all the time, and I'm sure I did this much more often. But as I got older, I'm just like...
It'll redeem itself.
I felt like I quit things easier when I was a kid, and I didn't want to do that. And I think then I went too far to the other extreme, and I'd be like, this isn't great, but I'm going to get through it, when I probably should have, in the past, sometimes given up on stuff. But typically, I can find something like that I enjoy or that's kind of good. Or anyhow, this one didn't work. So I actually just started... it's sort of a sci-fi book. And we'll see how it goes. But this one certainly seems to, like, it's going to be, like, not too bad. Yeah. So, I've been reading more novels lately. I haven't done a lot of, like, nonfiction recently. Yeah. It's been a lot more, like, novels for me recently.
I've been trying to read books that are getting, like, young adult books that are getting banned. So I read a great book called Dear Martin. That's about it could be the story about my daughter's high school, right? It's about a athlete who goes to a predominantly kind of white elite high school, and some things that happen with, like, him going from his community that he lives in to the kind of elite high school to play his sports, right? So it was a good book. I read The Truth About Alice, which is a book that people want. It's a story about a girl in Texas, and talks about, it's set in modern times, and it talks about, how rumor and innuendo can, completely ruin somebody's reputation when it's not true. And then I just read this really great book called I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. So, which was an award-winning, like, piece of, like, young adult literature, and people are, like, trying to ban it. So I read these books and say, why are they trying to ban this book? Like, what is in this book that I, as a parent of a 15-year-old daughter, would say is so offensive they can't read it? I've yet to find something in any of them.
Yeah, I just walked into... It was either Schuler's or Barnes & Noble. It's probably like a month ago.
Did they have a table of banned books?
Yeah, and they had a table of banned books. So I just, like, wandered over. I'm like, okay, what is it? And I went and I looked, and I probably read at least a third of them or something. Like, some of them were more recent. I just didn't know what they were. But some of them, and I was just like, what? This makes zero sense. Like,
have they banned 1984 yet? Because that's what we're living in.
I don't know. It makes no sense. Like,
if you don't like it, don't read it. Have you seen a lot of Ben and Jerry's? Like, we don't have any around here, but the Ben and Jerry's ice cream shops.
What do you mean ice cream shops?
Like, in some states, they actually have,
like a Dairy Queen?
Like, no, like Ben and like, they have like a Dairy Queen, but it's a Ben and Jerry's.
Right. What I mean, it's a little ice cream shop, like a Dairy Queen, but it's a
Ben and Jerry's.
Oh.
And
I'm assuming these are in, like, Vermont, New Hampshire.
Yeah, and I think there's actually some in Florida, ironically.
What? Are you sure? Like at Disney, right?
Yeah, no, not at Disney. But the Ben and Jerry's, because of their beliefs, started putting, like, literally bookshelves in there to, like, give kids and shelving the books that are, like, banned from their local libraries.
Yeah, I never have, I have a hard time wrapping my head around banning a book because here's my thought.
Yeah.
Do you feel your beliefs are so fragile and built upon like a mountain of sand that if someone reads this thing, they're going to stop believing in whatever you're trying to espouse?
Yeah.
Like it's, I don't know. I don't know. I find that whole thing just incredibly frustrating personally. It just doesn't make sense to me. So
I always tell people, there's a whole bunch of banned books of the Bible.
Oh, they didn't even let some stuff in.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't let a lot of stuff in.
Like, what is it, the Gospel of Thomas or whatever?
Yeah, the Gnostic. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
Well, when Jesus is a kid and he gets pissed and he, like, turns a kid into a goat or something like that, they're like, oh, we better not put that one in there. So,
or anything that insinuates that, God forbid, he may have been married.
Right, and he...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which also just strikes me as completely insane, right? Because isn't the belief is that he was God and man?
Right. Not
God and priest. Right? Not God and celibate.
I know.
So.
Well, now we're getting into our.
Now I have to start a new podcast called
Surviving Catholic Education. What would we call it?
My friends always like to call themselves recovering Catholics.
Recovering Catholic school students. Yeah. You survived and went on to thrive, right? So.
There you go. Survive and thrive. That's the name of the podcast.
My life after Catholic school.
Although there were some parts of that were good for me.
Yeah, me too.
So.
Yes.
So that's, yeah. So it's one of those where it's like, I'll make fun of my sisters, but you're not going to make fun of my sisters.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like, true. I'll complain about my religion, but you're not in my religion. I don't want to hear your crap. My
favorite part to this day, though, is when somebody says something about religion and I say, I'm Catholic. And they say, oh, I'm Christian. And I always go, well, Catholics are Christians, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I always like, I'm sure I'll lose. But when they're like, oh, yeah, I'm boarding in. I'm like, well, I got it right the first time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. This is my opinion on the whole thing. Organized religion is the politics of our spirituality. That's what I think.
You should write that one down. Oh, thank God it's recorded.
I think we've recorded it. It's one of the smartest things I've ever come up with. But that's what I just think. So, like you can't, anyhow, it's just one of those things. But you need to be, actually, this is one of the reasons I think my Catholic education was good for me because my senior year, we studied world religions. Yeah. And you got to see how the major religions, how much they have in common. Right. And it is insane that they sit there and like nitpick and fight about like just, I don't know. It just drives me crazy. But people have so much more in common than they think. I know. And they always want to concentrate on the differences as opposed to what we have in common. Exactly. And it's okay to disagree about stuff. Like, that's fine. I don't want everybody to be the same. Yeah. Things would be, like, super boring. But it doesn't mean you have to, like, not respect someone else's opinion or at least listen to what they have to say. Yeah, no one's forcing you to practice it. Exactly. Right? So, yeah. Well, when we get to rule the world. When we rule the world, yes. And gin flows freely from the faucets. Exactly. So. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Happy to be here. Episode 11, recorded on the 11th. Yeah, that's the first time that's happened. And again, if you have any gin recommendations or questions or comments, you can reach us on our Instagram at The Botanical Trails. And we will see you again next time. Thanks. All right. Cheers. Thanks. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to subscribe to us on whichever platform you listen to your podcasts. Also, I want to take a quick minute to thank Darin VanderMolen for all of his help behind the scenes. Without him, this podcast probably wouldn't even exist, and his help is greatly appreciated. Hope you have a great week, and we will look forward to seeing you the next time we go down the botanical trails. This has been a Shits and Giggles production.